Foster mother weighing 340 pounds arrested after sitting on and killing foster son. A heartbreaking tragedy. Dakota Stevens was a normal 10-year-old boy like any other child. He lived with a rich imagination, loved board games, singing, and dancing. However, Dakota's life came to a tragic end when he was killed by his own foster mother, Jennifer Wilson, who sat on him until he could no longer breathe. Dakota Stevens' life had never been easy. In 2018, when he was only about 5 to 6 years old, he and his sister were separated from their biological parents when their parental rights were terminated. Since then, Dakota had been constantly moved from one family to another in the foster care system. Finally, in March 2022, he was placed with Jennifer Wilson. Dakota lived in Jennifer Wilson's home for only about a month. During that brief time, the relationship between the boy and his foster mother became strained. Then, on April 25, 2022, a heartbreaking event occurred that abruptly ended Dakota's life. On April 25, Dakota ran to a neighbor's house and asked a simple but moving question: "Can you adopt me?" According to police allegations, Dakota told the neighbor that he had been hit in the face and his foster parents wouldn't allow him to call his case manager. Jennifer Wilson found Dakota at the neighbor's house. When the neighbor told Jennifer that Dakota wanted her to call the police, Jennifer told her to mind her own business. Jennifer then took Dakota back to her car and drove home. When they arrived home, Dakota initially refused to get out of the car. Eventually, he exited the vehicle but was still upset. He shouted that he would run away again. To prevent him from leaving, Jennifer took a cruel and shocking action. She sat on top of Dakota. According to police, Jennifer couldn't recall whether she lunged at Dakota or if they just fell to the ground. But when police reviewed footage from Ring security cameras, they saw Jennifer lying on Dakota's upper body. It's important to remember that Dakota was just a 10-year-old child, about 4 feet 10 inches tall. The part of his body that Jennifer was lying on was close to his head and neck. While pinned down, Dakota continuously screamed. He struggled with all his might to resist and escape, thrashing to be free. But then, he became motionless. When Dakota stopped moving, Jennifer thought he was pretending. However, by this time, his eyelids had become pale. Jennifer claimed she only laid on Dakota for about 5 minutes. But police stated that 2 Ring camera clips lasting about 7 minutes showed her sitting on Dakota while he was motionless. One video shows Dakota still screaming, with Jennifer on top of him, her right hand and elbow braced against the ground. Another video shows Jennifer on top of Dakota near his buttocks, while his hands are raised above his head and not moving. One video shows Jennifer kneeling on one knee facing Dakota, who is face down on the ground. Only when Dakota lost consciousness did Jennifer get off him. She attempted CPR and asked one of the other children in the house to call 911. Police reported that Jennifer was clearly panicking when they arrived. By this time, Dakota was not breathing, had no pulse, and was later airlifted to the hospital. 2 days after being admitted to the hospital, Dakota was taken off life support. Doctors noted that his brain was swollen, consistent with oxygen deprivation. The medical examiner concluded that Dakota's death was due to mechanical asphyxia and classified it as a homicide. Dakota died in April 2022, but Jennifer Wilson wasn't arrested until July of that year. She was found in a completely different state after a warrant was issued and a license plate reader detected her vehicle. Jennifer Wilson was charged with reckless homicide. Eventually, she pleaded guilty. Under Indiana law, this charge carries a maximum sentence of 6 years in prison. In early 2023, Jennifer was sentenced to 6 years in prison with 1 year suspended for probation. Currently, Jennifer Wilson is serving her sentence at Rockville Correctional Facility. According to online records, her expected release date is October 2028. Jennifer Wilson's sentence has been controversial. Many believe that 6 years in prison is insufficient punishment for killing a 10-year-old child. Criminal defense attorney Serena Townsend expressed surprise that the maximum penalty for reckless homicide in Indiana is only 6 years. She believes the judge did everything possible within the limits of the law but still feels the sentence is too light for taking a child's life. Townsend also questioned whether Jennifer could have been charged with a more serious offense, such as second-degree murder, instead of reckless homicide. She suggested that a more severe charge could have been considered by a jury. Although proving Jennifer intended to kill Dakota might have been difficult, however, signs like bruises and other injuries indicated there might have been a pattern of abuse, which could have led a jury to decide that Jennifer had murderous intent. Regarding Jennifer's decision to plead guilty rather than go to trial, Townsend believes the evidence against Jennifer was too clear. She wasn't a sympathetic defendant and had no way to justify her actions. Townsend believes Jennifer accepted the plea deal to minimize her punishment, as she couldn't present strong enough evidence in her favor to convince a jury to acquit her. Beyond the legal issues, there are questions about the cruelty of Jennifer Wilson's actions to control Dakota Stevens. Whether Jennifer weighed 340 pounds or less, sitting on a child until they can't breathe is an extremely cruel act. Townsend argues that corporal punishment methods are unacceptable. When a child makes a mistake, the appropriate approach is to have a serious conversation, have them sit quietly for a while, or assign them a task to teach them a lesson, not resort to violence. She also suggests that Dakota's attempt to run away might have been a cry for help, an effort to escape a terrible situation. Another notable point is that Dakota had only been in Jennifer Wilson's home for about a month before being killed. This raises questions about Jennifer Wilson's suitability as a foster parent. If she lacked patience with a child to the point of killing him after just 1 month, how could she be considered suitable to care for any other child? Townsend questions the screening and evaluation process for foster parent applicants. She suggests that Jennifer Wilson must have known about Dakota's tendencies and the traumas he had experienced, and she should have known what she was getting into. No one is forced to be a foster parent, and if someone agrees to foster a child, they must accept the responsibility and trust that the state and the child place in them. Dakota Stevens died in heartbreaking and unnecessary circumstances. The 10-year-old boy didn't have a chance to grow up and become the person he could have been. Instead, he died at the hands of someone who should have protected and nurtured him. According to his obituary, Dakota's smile could light up any room he entered, and he truly had a big heart. He loved the outdoors, was a wonderful brother to his little sister, and his favorite teacher was a great inspiration to him. But one part of the obituary stands out. For those who truly loved this 10-year-old boy, their hearts will forever be broken. The case of Dakota Stevens raises many questions about our foster care system, about the protection we provide to our most vulnerable children, and about the justice we provide when something terrible happens. It's important that we learn from this tragedy and work to ensure that no other child suffers a similar fate. As we look back at this case, we must ask ourselves, has justice been served? And if not, what must we do to ensure that it will be served in the future?